Alright guys, welcome to this full Python tutorial. In this video, by the end of this video, we'll be finishing our first statement in Python and we'll be getting started on our Python journey. But before that, we need to actually get an interface or a place that we can actually code Python. So there's a few ways that you can do this. The first is you can just download Python. Now, I already have this, but when you download it, currently it's 3.10, and you should get the latest version. For some reason, if you do not want to get the latest version, you can always go on to the downloads. On the downloads, click on all releases or whichever computer that you're on. Click there, and if you go down, you can see all these releases. I would recommend, at least for this tutorial, that you get a 3.0 and above. This is because we will be talking about some cool things that may not be included in the 2. Whatever versions. So just make sure you get 3.5 and above, I would say. Anyways, so let's get down with the download. So we have this here. Just want to open it up. And this is a pretty straightforward download. So really just click on everything and just get the regular default developers edition, and that should install everything that you need. So yeah, so I already have it installed, so that's why I can't really take you through this, but just remember that. Now, the second way that you can do it, especially if you're watching this video on like a Chromebook, or you don't have a computer that can actually download this, you can use the online browsers. So there are there are two main ones that I would recommend. The first one is an app called Replit, and this just allows you to code in any language, so I do like this one better. So I may be using Replit for some projects. We also will be using my library, and we'll talk about libraries in the future. But so far, I hope you guys are on my page. If you guys don't understand some words that I'm saying, I'm sorry about that, but you don't have to, especially now. So just carry on, understand what you can. But essentially, the point of this video is just to get started with Python. Right. So the first one, you can go to replit.com and create an account. So we're on here, and I already have an account, but it's a pretty straightforward sign-up process. So yeah, so you should come to an app like this, and if you guys are already using Replit for another app, great. But anyways, you have here, so you want to sign up and just enter your email and create an account, or just sign in with Google. Obviously, still pretty straightforward. And when you get onto the actual app, you have your portfolio of projects here. And this is basically like Scratch 2.0. So if you guys have used Scratch before, basically Scratch, it allows you to do this just for block projects. And this is not this is obviously not block, but it allows you to do all these different languages, and it allows you to share it. So that's kind of what I meant by Scratch. It allows you to share it and have that community online. So I would recommend this, and look how many languages you have. So that's that. The next one is an app called Trinket. Now, Trinket I do like, especially for this video. So I mean, Replit or this, I do. I would actually, I would recommend Replit as like an IDE online. Like, that would probably be the best one I know. Trinket is limited to a few languages, but it allows you to actually publish your Python apps, even though you can't download or use what we call libraries or APIs, which you don't need to know right now. It allows you to publish it on the internet. So essentially, you create a Python project, you title it. So first project, and you can start writing code here, and basically you can publish it so other people can view it. And that's the only reason why I choose Replit in this video over Replit, or no, Trinket in this video over Replit, is just because you can share the project with anyone you like. And I would like to share some of these apps with you down in the description, so you guys can just test them out from there if you guys would like to. So anyway, since I'm already on Trinket, let's just start our first Python project on our IDE. So you guys can use whatever you want. I am going to use Trinket just for this video. Later on, I might use my own IDE or the one I installed that I used, right? So if you install any type IDE, you should have your own IDE. But just for now, I'm just going to use Trinket. So this is a classic. So what we're going to do is just follow after me and I'll explain it after. So just type print and two parentheses. So parentheses are pretty important in Python, so we use them a lot. Yeah, so we use parentheses a lot, so just make sure that you are typing them correctly. This statement I do not think would work if you just print it out like this. So make sure you put these parentheses. All right, so print and parentheses. So this is shift 90, by the way, for parentheses. And inside we want to put a double quote. So just shift and the quote. And you can also put single quote. And that's one thing that's good about, or that's cool about Python, or easy, is that you don't really have to worry about double quote or single quote. And in many other languages, you actually do. So this is kind of a cool feature. And just follow along with me right now. I know you might be wondering, why do we need to do brackets? Why do we need to do these quotes? But we will talk about this in the next video. So just follow along. I'm not going to put double quotes because I usually use double quotes. And inside here, just type any text that you'd like. And in almost every programming tutorial in the world, you see they'll type hello world in here. So that's why I'm not going to type hello world in here. I'm going to type hello first. I'm going to type hello amazing world. And we can just run this project, and you can see that it did print out hello amazing world in what we call our console. So this area right here is what we call our console, and this is where all our output for our code will run, right? So this is where we'll see our output. And yeah, so just remember that this is called the console because I will be using this word a lot this video. But as you can see, we can change this up and it will print it out. So nice. We can also print this out multiple times, right? And we get multiple outputs. So when we run this, we get this. And we can also print numbers. All right. And for now, I'm not going to talk about what we call variable types. So just do it like this, and you can see we print numbers. So really, anything you want to print out, we can print. So yeah, so you guys can play around with this. And yeah, so we just created our first Python project. And just so we can end it off like this, we type hello world. And yeah, this is basically what I wrote. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions, you can put them in the comments down below. I know you might see some errors here and there. You guys can just put them in the comments down below, or just email me, right? One thing I would say is a common error is what we call a syntax error, especially in like beginning. You'll see a lot of syntax error, and what this is saying is you haven't typed the syntax, or syntax is I would say the specific key characters or words that you'd have to type for the language. So, for example, this statement in Python is different from this statement in another language, right? So, for example, in JavaScript, which is a language that's used for web development, this would be console.log, right? So, console.log here is like the keyword, or print here is like the keyword, right? So if you don't have these keywords and things that you need specifically for the language, they'll give you what we call syntax error. So syntax is basically it's like the language or the words in a language, right? So if you haven't said them correctly, it could mean something else, right? So let me just show you an example of a syntax error. So if we didn't put this parenthesis in, it gives us, well, it's not a syntax. Oh yeah, they gave us a syntax error, right? So you can see syntax error here. Or if we didn't put a quote, right, we'll get a syntax error. Bad token, right? So these errors really do help you a lot. So sometimes a lot of beginners, what they might do is they just might like not look at the syntax errors, and they might just be like, all right, well, it's wrong. I'm just gonna quit on the project. It doesn't matter. So these syntax errors really do help. So I will be creating a video, actually maybe in this tutorial too, right? This full course, how to read these syntax errors. So you guys learned one. So just remember, when you see a syntax error, it means that your code that you've written is wrong. Okay, so the actual syntax or the text that you've written. So yeah, so that's about it for this video. And then one last thing I want to say before we end is that Python is a very, very easy language because it is very like close to English. So you can have a lot of different examples, and they'll be very like logical in daily life. So that's why it's really easy to actually sort out these errors in Python, because when I run it and I see an error, it kind of tells us what this is saying, right? This one's kind of confusing for beginners, but if I run this, right, bad token on line 1. So it specifically tells us where the error is, and it tells us that there is a bad token. So we can kind of see that we didn't create a token correctly. And all right, we have our parentheses. They look nice, but why is this parenthesis looking red? And we'll talk about this more next video, but you can kind of see, okay, we have one quote. Oh yeah, we forgot another quote. And then when you put this, you can see it turns black again. And when you run, there's no errors. So I just want to show you guys that these errors aren't that hard to solve. And once you kind of get the hang of it, it will become easier. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. My name is Pranal. Peace. Alright guys, welcome back to our Python tutorial. In this video, we'll be talking about variables and data types, and basically clearing up our idea of or questions about this first statement that we created in the last video. So let's get started. All right. I'm just going to delete that text for now so we have a clear IDE, and we can get started. So the first concept I'd like to talk to you guys about is what a variable is. So many of you guys probably already know what a variable is, right? But let's just define it a little bit better, right? So I'm in 5th grade, so we haven't learned it yet in 5th grade, but as you'll see in school, if you're above 5th grade, a variable type is used a lot, right? Or not a variable type, a variable is used a lot, and you'll hear the word a lot. And an example would be in algebra, right? For example, in an equation that's like x plus 3 equals 5, right? This x is a variable, and if you really think about it, what does this x do? Well, first let's clarify that x equals 2. And in this scenario, x, or not in this scenario, in general, right? This x is a variable, and this x is a holding place or a bucket that holds, obviously metaphorically, but it's a bucket that holds this 2 value. So now when we say x plus x, or x plus x, we automatically think x plus, or 2 plus 2, and we get 4. So if you really think about it, a variable is just a bucket that stores another a value, right? And these values can come in different types, right? You might, the first example would be like numbers, math, algebra, right? Like the example I just said. And these are what we call integers in, these are integers in general, right? So we just discovered our first variable type, integers. So we call this int for abbreviation in Python. All right. So we just figured out that an integer can be a variable type there. And that's a variable type in, or an integer can be a variable, and that's a variable type in Python, right? But also an integer, or also a variable can be a string, right? Some text. And I mean, why not, right? It's just a bucket for another value. Why can't it just be text? Does it have to really be a number? I'm just going to give an example here. So it can also be some text, and in Python we call text a string. So we just discovered our new variable type, which is a string. Okay, and this is just any text. Yeah. So right, it can also be a true or false statement, right? Is something true? Is something false? Right? True meaning, like this statement is true, like a 1, and false meaning 0. And these are very useful. And we call these booleans. So we just discovered our new variable type. I'm just gonna say bool for short. All right, and we usually don't use like booleans or the word booleans in Python, or boolean. We do use int and string when we are trying to convert something from string to int, or into string, or into any other variable type, or string to any other variable type. But usually we just classify a boolean as false and true. Right? So we don't say like boolean and then false or true. We just say false or true, and then we say that this is a boolean. So and those are the main data types. There are some like there are some other ones, like for integer. There's also one called float, which is basically like a decimal. So 21.1, right? So this can hold up to 12 digits after, or not 12 digits, 12 digits after the decimal point. So yeah, so those are the 4 main data types that we're going to be working with in this video. Now, if we come back to our print statement, right? Okay, so in Python, when we're working with strings, we use quotes. So when we're declaring something as text or a string, we use quotes. An integer, we don't have to use quotes. So like for example, in these quotes, if I type 89, and I ask you, is this an integer or is this a is this a string, right? And 89, well, 89 is an integer, but the variable type, right? If I print this variable type, which I can do by just saying, or I can store this in a variable, right? So before I even talk about that, let's just talk about variables, right? So in Python, the equal sign declares a variable. So, or something, one equal sign declares a variable. So a equals, and then we can set it equal to something. So I'm going to say a equals this print statement. Or we'll just say 89, right? And now we can use this a and print a, right? And this will print 89. Same thing. Or if I change it to 90, so you can see that it's actually working, right? You can see it prints 90. So here, if I want to see the type of it, I can just say type and run this. See, no attribute type. So we can run this. And str has no attribute type. Okay, so okay, anyways, I will fix that error later. But sorry about that. But basically, this isn't a integer. This is a string. Even though it looks like an integer because it has quotes, this is actually a string. So in Python, this is a string, but we can just put them out of the quotes and it becomes an integer. So when you run this, you can see we get the same output. So yeah, so that's why when we're using an integer in Python, we don't have to put quotes, right? Because it's just making this an integer. Now, just to make sure that, and by the way, the reason why I didn't fix the type error is because I do want to work on that error later with our syntax error, or not our debugging part of this video. So if you guys are wondering why. Anyways, so if we want to print 89 plus 89, right? And this is a valid statement, right? We can print 89 plus 89, and this you would think would print out 178, right? 89 plus 89. But look at the actual output. This is 89 or 8,989, right? And why? Well, because these are two strings. When we add them, they just clump them together and we get this number, right? Now, if we really want to add them, then we should take these out and it will print a 178. So the last one I want to talk about is booleans, and this is boolean. These are booleans. So well, obviously you can't print out false, right? It's not a string or an integer. But if we say that a equals false, or let's do this. Okay, or run equals true. Okay. Or oh wait, that's what it's. Okay. So we'll say run equals true. Okay. And print run. and it prints true, right? And I don't want to get too deep into this because I'm going to have to talk about the other material, and it really won't make sense. So in a few videos, we'll talk more about booleans and how we can use them because they are very useful, especially in the beginner or in the beginner levels when we're using while loops and for loops, right? If you guys have done Scratch or block coding. And yeah, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions about this material, you guys can obviously, and once again, post them down in the comment section. And if you guys need like have a question that's important or you need help with the whole material, then you guys can just email me. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Pranav Sai. Peace. See you in the next one. Alright guys, in this video we'll be talking about something called if statements. Now, what is an if statement? Right, so but before we talk about if statements, the purpose of this video, let's just revise what we learned in the last video, right? So we learned about variables and variable types, or data types. And we learned that to assign a variable to something or create a variable, we just use one equal sign. So for example, let's say that we want to set a equal to 5, right? We just say a equals 5, and that's no problem. In other languages, you might need a keyword like var or variable, right? Or v. But in Python, all you need is just 3 parts, right? You need the equal sign, you need a variable, right? This can be anything, any variable. And you set it equal to any value. So we need a key and we need a value. So the key is the variable, and then we have a value, and then we need our equal sign. So it's fairly simple, right? And just remember that we only use one equal sign here. So above this, we'll say that one equal sign is equal to. So whatever I do, it'll make more sense. So one equal sign means is equal to, right? So a is equal to 5, right? Just read it out loud like that. So now that we got that covered, let's go back into our if statements. So an if statement is, the use of an if statement is essentially to do something when a value is met. And we use the if keyword to create an if statement, and I'll explain more about if statements now. So we say if, and then we have what our value that, or what our statement that needs to be met. So if something is true, then we want to do something. Now, the only language that I know of that's more Englishy type of thing than Python is a language called Lua. If any of you guys play Roblox or on Roblox, I mean, I personally don't know how to code in Lua. I just know about it, right? But basically, I think when you're creating an if statement, you say if, and then whatever value is met. So statement, then, and then you do that, and then you have your statement, right? So in Python, instead of then, we use a colon. So you can read a colon as then. So if this statement is true, then do this, right? So and let's say if a equals 5, then we want to do something, right? So let's run this and see what happens. Now we get a syntax error, and what this means is that we something is not valid, right? We just gave our computer if a equals 5, then, And in English, right, if you just say like, if you go to your friend, you'd be like, if A equals 5, and you just leave, like with no other context behind that. First, that's like a grammatical error, right? It doesn't make sense. If someone just walked up to you and be like, and you don't even know them, and you're just like, if A equals 5, and you leave. So kind of the same thing here, right? We need to do something if A equals 5. Like, what do we do if A equals 5? We ask these questions, right? So let's do something if A equals 5. So let's just print out your age is 5, right? Maybe we can create a program after this that is basically trying to find your age, right? So let's do this. So let's see. Okay, yeah. So we might want to find what your age is between 1 and 10, or above 5 or below 5 or equals 5, right? So if A equals 5, then we want to print out your age is 5, right? This is pretty simple code that we already know how to do. And once again, we get our syntax error. And all right, well, we have our if A equals 5, then, all right, I think that's pretty good. And then we're printing out your age is 5. So what's wrong with it? Well, the problem is there's actually nothing inside this if statement. So we still have the same error, right? Because think about it. If we put another code after this and we don't want it to be in the if statement, how will the computer know if it's in the if statement or if it's not, right? So are you telling me that after this if statement has to be the last line of code? Well, it can't be, right? There's got to be a better way, and obviously there is. So in another language, we might use brackets. So anything inside the brackets, like Java or JavaScript, once again, because I'm familiar with those, or at least JavaScript. In these brackets, right, we put any code inside it, and then after the brackets, it's not in the if statement. But with Python, we don't have these brackets, so we have this then, right? So what we have to do is we have to do something called indenting. Just like you indent a paragraph, you have to indent text so it's in the if statement, or not text, syntax or code, so it's in the if statement, right? So now, how do we know what's in the if statement? Now, if we click on this arrow right here, you can see everything in the if statement. And you can see it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't clear this print, right? So we have to indent it. So what we do is we just go in front of it and we click tab and it indents it. So now when we run this, we still get an error, but we have it indented. So when we go like this, you can see that we have it pulled in, right? So you can see everything in the if statement. Now this comes to our next error. We still have another bad input, or another syntax error. I should have talked about how to fix this one first before the next one, but so sorry about that. But once again, we go back to our variable assigning. We're saying that if, and we're assigning A equals to 5. This statement is not saying if A equals 5. It's saying that if, A is equal to 5, by the way. Then, so basically this is as good as saying that if, then. If what, then. So we need to use double equals. And this is the proper way to say if A is equal to 5. Okay? Okay. So we need double equals. So that's why I wanted to talk about variables. So you guys know that this is setting variables. This is saying if it equals to. And we're only, what I know of, you don't really use these two equal signs other than if statements. So really you can just think of two equal signs if before. So if is equal to, right? So anyways, let's test out this program and see how it works. So when we run, we get your age is 5, and that's great. Now, how do we test if this if statement works? So we can just change this variable to 4, And now when we run, it's not doing anything. And that's because a is not equal to 5, so the program just skips this if statement because it doesn't matter. A is not equal to 5, so why waste the time to look into this, right? So we have nothing after that. Along with these if statements, we want to talk about else. So else means, so you can have a lot of if statements, right? I can have multiple of these if statements. Right, so let's put a few more, and we can actually get a program, right? So let's say this program is directed for people who are 5 and under. Okay. We just need to edit these small things. And I'll just see going on. You will never be, it's not efficient if you want to do this for a lot of different things. So we'll talk about that. But anyways, when we run this, we can just edit this variable and we get different outputs. So if it's 4, we print your age is 4. If we change this to 3, it prints your age is 3. If it's 5, we print your age is 5. So after all of this, what if your age isn't any of these, right? What do? What do we have to do for everything else, right? We can't do this all the way in, I mean, for a realistic age, it could be maybe 120 maximum, right? I think that's the oldest guys lived up to 120, right? But we cannot do this for 120 times. That is not efficient. It's time consuming. You could have a lot of errors. Like, who wants to check through 120 different errors, right? So what if we just say that if your age is not below 5, right? Anything else will just say your age is above 5, right? So we don't have to do it 120 times. So we can use this else statement, which kind of is, I mean, you can have multiple else's though, just think of that. And also, basically, what if you say A can, I mean, in this case, it's okay, but what if it's an input and we say, if you have like Psy in your name, do this, right? So it's more efficient if you use, or not efficient, but it's just helpful if you use elif. And this is else if. So that's saying if this condition isn't met, then we'll check if this condition is met. If this condition is not met, then we'll do this, right? So if one of them is met, it won't do another one. Okay. So that's kind of the thing with else. So I use elif at least when you're creating bigger programs because I mean, it's not really just if you're creating bigger programs. I mean, there is a use for just using if statements, and there's a use for just using elif statements. And elif statements is if one of them's true, then we do this. And maybe I'll make a video on how to create like tic-tac-toe, and you'll see that it does really matter that you use these elves in there. But for now, I mean, it's okay to just use ifs. Because I'm not, I would like to explain elifs in this video with an example, because I think it'll make more sense in that case. So for now, just don't worry about elifs, and I'll talk about that in a later video. But anyways, I hope you guys get else. So if none of these conditions are met, if you're not 5, if you're not 4, if you're not 3, if you're not 2, and if you're not 1, then we need to say something, right? We don't want to just leave it blank. So we'll just print you're older than. You're older than 5, or you're 5 plus. Doesn't really matter. We can change the text however we like. So when you run this, we get you're 5 plus. And why did it print your age is 5 and you're 5 plus? Right? So when you run, it just prints your age is 4 and you're 5 plus, which we shouldn't be doing, right? We don't want that. We don't want to print this and this. So now we get our use of elifs. So now if we use this elif, we're only going to be printing 1. Right, so when we run this, we can see we only have 1, right? And this is because only one of these conditions can be met, right? And that's why ELF is useful, because in this case, we can't have both. Your age is 4 and you're above 5. Well, no, that's not true. You can't be above 5 and be 4, right? That's invalid. So we want to have ELF, because in this case, only one of these statements for any number is true, right? None of these match each other. If you're 5, you're not 5 plus. If you're 4, you're not 5 plus. If you're 3, you're not 2. If you're 3, you're not 5 plus, right? These conditions go on. So that's why we need our ELF here. So that's the use of ELF. And before we go, I just want to do one last thing. So what if we want this to go on forever, right? What if we don't want to just print your 5 plus? What if we want to actually go on forever? Well, one challenge for you is to basically do this in just 3 if statements. So sorry for background noise, by the way. Just 3 if statements. So now what if we just want to say, all right, you're below 5, you're above 5, and you meet 5, right? We don't want to say all these ages. So let's do that. So let me comment all this out, and I'll show you guys about comments later. But let's say that A equals 5, right? And we just want to say, okay, so if A equals 5, then we print you're 5. If A equals anything below 5, then we just print you're below 5, or you're under 5, or you're younger than 5. And anything above 5, you print you are older than 5. So if A equals 5, then you want to print your age is 5. So and if A is above 5, you want to print you're older than 5. And if it's younger than 5, then you print you're younger than 5. And this isn't very user interactive, right? The user can't enter anything. We have to do this like by ourselves with changing this variable. So in the next video, we'll talk about how to do this. So you can see our program is working. And this is a pretty useful program, right? Maybe what if we could add an input in here, and we can tell them what their age is, right? And we can do so many things with these if statements. So, I mean, right now it seems kind of boring because we can only change these variables, but as you'll see in the next video when we talk about inputs, these if statements can do so much. We can create calculators with this. We can create Mad Libs with these. We can create so many different things with just if statements, variables, print statements, and inputs. So you guys can explore with this. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. As I'll say in every single video, if you guys have any questions, you guys can feel free to email me or put it down in the comments where I can create another video with your concern or question. But as I said, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace. Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about inputs. So as we talked about in the last video, inputs are very useful because we can create user interaction, right? So far we learned how to do cool things, right? Amazing things, but they're not really things or apps, right? I don't know why I'm using things. Applications that are user interactive, right? If I just go on here, I mean, okay, sure, it's, well, we have a syntax error, right? So let's fix that before we do this. So what's our syntax here? Actually, we don't have one. I don't know what's the problem here. Okay, so it just prints this out, and actually one thing I like is how never mind, I won't talk about that. So basically, you can see we printed out, but there's nothing really for the user to do. Okay, I see some text on the screen. What does this mean, right? I'm not older than 5. Oh, well, I am older than 5, but let's set it to 5, right? We can't be doing this for every single person that we know comes on, right? That's just weird, and that's not a cool application. Like, your age is 5. All right, well, how do you know that? Well, it's not. But we can actually ask for an input field where we can enter our age, and it does something with that age, right? So let's talk about inputs. And this will be our first step to creating actual real world applications that can help us, right? In the next video, we'll be creating calculator, and calculators have changed our lives in so many different ways, right? And we can create our own with just a few if statements, a few inputs, and a few printing or print statements, print keywords. So let's get started. That's a lousy introduction. So let's talk about inputs first, right? So when we're creating an input, it's pretty straightforward, right? We just use the input keyword, right? So when we say input, you can see it kind of turns purple, and we use our parenthesis. Okay, so right here we just created an input. So when we run this, you can see we have an input, and we can type text. And when we enter, obviously it doesn't do anything. Okay, and all right, cool and all. But how do I know what to enter, right? Maybe it could use input fields or some text to tell us. So inside we can also put some text, and we're like your age. Okay. So let's run this. And now we can enter our age. And even what we can do is, so we don't get errors, we can make this input have to be an integer. So when we run this, you can see that we have to enter an integer or it'll give us an error. So now if we enter an integer, it gets this value as an integer. So, and all right, cool and all. But right now we have no way to actually get what the input is. So we can easily just store this in a variable, right, and do something with it. So we're going to say age equals this input, and it runs perfectly. Right, so now we have this value 90 stored in our age variable, so we can easily just print this out. So I'm going to say 10, and it prints out 10, right? And cool, right? What else can we do with this? Well, let's create an if statement and do something with it, right? So if age equals, remember 2 equal signs, and now it's not a string, so let's create it's an integer. So if we put a string, we'll get an error. So let's just test that out first. So if it equals 10, print your age. Your age is 10. So 10, and oh, actually we don't get an error, but you can see it doesn't do anything, and we're wondering why. Well, it's not an integer, so when we make it an integer, then it will run, right? So it says your age is 10. So just make sure that you're using the right variable types. Now, let's just do exactly what we did before, but with this age. So maybe we can create a project that tells us what grade we are based on our age. That's pretty cool, right? The simple thing, or what grade we're going to next year. Maybe that's even cooler. Or how about this? This is actually something that you might think about, right? How many years till you are in college, right? So let's do this. So I think most kids will be in college at 18, I would say. 18, yeah, like when you get into college, you would be 18. So what if we just subtract your age by, or 18 minus your age. So 18 minus your age is what you want to do. So we can't do this, and I don't really see why we need an if statement here. Because I mean, this is already pretty cool, right? So my age is 10. Alright, cool. In 8 years, I'm gonna be in college. Well, that's cool and all. Let's just add one more slight thing. And plus, we use this plus when we're adding multiple things. So in our if statement, so we'll say you're in this many years, you will be in or college, right? So let's look at some cool colleges. College, let's say, or yeah, college. What is the number one college in the U.S.? Okay, Harvard, right? So let's say that you will be in college at Harvard. So that'll be pretty cool. And it's like, oh my God, I'll be in college at Harvard. And obviously, this may or may not be true, but it's a pretty cool program. Or I predict you'll be in college at Harvard. So cool. So if I be like 10, there, but if I be like 10, okay, now if I be like 10, okay, we get another. So can't concentrate, int and str, or string and integer on line 2. Oh, all right. So I guess you know what? We'll store this in a variable. We'll say like a. Put this in there, and then we'll just add it. Okay. I think that's just because we're storing a lot of values here. I think I might only have to have 2 here. So I mean, that's alright. We have a project. We'll just say this, and this should work. Yep. We don't get the Harvard thing, but alright. So okay, then we still get our error. So that's just because we're doing some work here. So and I don't want to tell you guys, or I don't want to fix this just yet, because we might go into new material. I know it's kind of sad, but it'll take a long video to explain all of this. It'll be like an hour, just one clip, right? So, anyways, I won't talk about how to fix that right now, but I mean, we already have a pretty cool project, right? And for now, we'll do the other alternative and just print out like this. So, and then just do it like this. I mean, this isn't that cool or as cool. So when you run this, 10, and you can see it still works. It's just not on the same line. Yeah, so we have this. Yeah, and this is pretty cool. But what if you're older than 18? Then we don't want to show negative, right? So if we say 21, what's it? 21, it says -3. That doesn't really make sense. So let's say only if age is lower than 19 or 18 for now, or less than, I don't know why I said lower, then we do this, right? If age is smaller or greater than 18, but smaller, so let me just do it like this. So if age is greater than 18 or 17 and smaller than, how many years are you in college? So we'll just do regular college, right? Maybe we'll say college is 4 years, right? So 22, right? Then we want to print you're in college. And if your age is greater than 22, you're past college. So let's run this and see how it works. So if we say 10, okay, cool. If we say 23, I'm past college. If I say 19 or 18, we don't actually have a value for 18. But if I say 19, we don't get a value. So let's just check the statement again. So if age is smaller than 17, oh wait, that's not true. It has to be bigger. So we go like that. Inequalities can get you sometimes. And we run this. So now if we say like 18, you say you're in college. So that's pretty cool. And I know we can tweak this a little more to make it more specific, but I hope you guys got the idea of that you can create a project. I know this was a longer than hoped video, and it could have been shorter, but I hope you guys got the point and understand how inputs work, and that we can use just 4 simple keywords in Python to create a very, very cool project, and we can do so much more. So the next video we'll be creating a calculator with Python, so stay tuned for that. Well, stay tuned, right? It's all one big video, but I hope you guys got this code down, or you guys understand this input once again. If you have any questions or any comments, put them in the comments or email me. I know you might be getting tired of that, but I'm just trying to remind you. But yeah, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace. Alright guys, so in this video we'll be creating a calculator with Python. We already know all the tools to actually get this started, so I'm not going to waste any time, and let's get it started. So let's delete all that code and create a refresh with the new IDE, and start this code. So let's think about the requirements for a calculator. So for now, let's just have like a something plus something, or something minus something, or something times something, or something divided by something. I hope you guys get the point. So just 2 numbers doing something. And something is a very broad word. two numbers either multiplying or adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. Okay. So we probably need a first input, right? We need what we want to do, right? We need operators. So here are the three requirements. So we need a first number. We need a second number. And we just need an operator. So what do we want to do? Sure. Okay. So let's get started. So first we need a first number. So how are we going to do this? Well, let's create an input, and we'll call it number 1. So the input is equal to, or num1 is equal to input, and we'll say enter first number. Okay. So when we run this, we get an input field where we can enter our first number. And let's just make this that we need an integer for this. I mean, I do want to try something if it will work on this calculator. So for now, I'm actually not going to enter an integer here. Or actually, we need an integer for this. I kind of did want to test something out though, which I want to show you guys in the end of this video, kind of like a bonus, kind of cool trick that I learned like a week ago. And I actually will create a video on that. So I'll make that a separate video. Yeah, so we have input, enter. Okay, yeah, so we have this. And now let's just create our second input. And guys, use the Control-C. It's very, very useful. Why spend the time and type out everything when you can just Control-C it? Or copy and paste it. So we first want our num1, then we want our operator, and then we want our num2. Okay, so enter operator, and this actually is not an integer for obvious reasons. Plus, minus, times, and divide are not integers. So, and maybe we can even make a more advanced calculator with like roots and powers, squareds, cubed, things like that. And actually, that'll be our bonus. So, and it's fairly simple. But we have this down, so you can see it asks for our first number, so 90. We have our operator plus. And the reason that we got an error is because plus is not an integer. An integer is any number. So, okay, we got an error again. So what went wrong? It's because we have double parentheses for any random thing. Or we have another parenthesis, a closing parenthesis, where we don't have an opening parenthesis. So when we run this, 90 plus 90, and we're good, right? But we're not doing anything with this right now. So let's create some if statements to add, subtract, divide, or multiply these numbers. So if operator is equal to plus, and I hope you guys understand what to do now, we want to add these. So let's just print this out for now. Yep. So we can do this for all the operators. And this is a lot of people's first project. So in almost every single one of my languages, this is my first project. Other than printing out Hello World or Hello Amazing World. And yeah, so we're good with this, and we just have to change these operators, and we have our awesome calculator 2.0. So let's run this. So enter first number, we can subtract, and we'll subtract 78. And you get 12. So you can see you guys can play around with this. 9,699,000, whatever this number is. Minus, or what's it with the minuses? Times. Bam! Now, what if we want to divide some random numbers? Yep. As you can see, I love playing around with calculators, especially when you make them. And bam! Just like that. And we have an error there because we entered a subtraction sign. And we get this. Now, I'm going to do something on purpose. 9 divided by 4. Oh, wait, we can already do this. Okay. I guess we don't need floats then. Okay, but what if we want to do 8.9 divided by something, right? I mean, who wants to divide decimals anyway? So we need to add float here too. So we'll just add another parenthesis here with float. So now we can do cool things and divide decimals. So 90.1 million, whatever that is. We have an error. Int with base 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh wait. So a float is just an integer that can calculate variables. So we don't actually need this int, we just need float. Okay. So when we do this, divide by whatever this is. You get whatever that is. And we almost got the exact same number. Okay, anyways. And yeah, so that's our calculator. Make sure to play around with this because it is very fun. Hope you guys enjoy this video. It's a really cool project, and we can add a lot more to it, such as like square roots, power of, and as we'll talk about APIs and libraries in a new video, or not a new video, in another video in this humongous Python course. You'll learn how to do all these different multiplication, or not multiplication, operators with our calculator. So this is a pretty advanced calculator. We can do a lot of different things. And yeah, so you guys can share this project if you guys like with me, if you add any like extra features. And yeah, so I think I did create a video on how to create a calculator. I mean, obviously a more advanced thing, but with like a graphical user interface, which is kind of like an interface that you see on Google. And it kind of looks exactly like this, basically, where you can just enter these fields and it calculates. But I had to delete that because I think it was it was on my other computer that didn't really work. But enough of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I did. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to email me or put them in the comments. And from now on, for the rest of this video, I'm not going to say that because it's kind of getting boring. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace. Alright guys, so in this video we'll be talking about for and while loops. These two things are loops in Python that allow us to basically do what's inside of the loop till a condition is met. So let's talk about these two loops. So the while loop is used with the keyword while. And we have three main things in this while loop, right? We have the keyword while, we have our statement, and so while something is true, and we have our then. Okay. So let's just say that a equals 5, or let's say that we want to, or yeah, we'll say a equals 5, and while a is small, or what if we want to print out all the numbers between 1 and 1,000? While a is smaller than 1,000, we want to print a and add 1 to a. So when we run this, you can see we print all the numbers from 1 to 1,000. So let's just wait till the program is done. And I mean, it's pretty cool to see like how these numbers like increase. Like they look like really cool. But yeah, so it should end in a few seconds now. I know it's taking longer than expected, but we're printing it out. So with the faster computer, you have faster output. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we printed all the numbers from 1 to 1,000. And the reason why it didn't print 1,000 was because a is equal to 1,000. So that's why it doesn't print 1,000. So if you want to do all to 1,000, you have to do 1,000. But I'm not gonna run that again. So I'm just gonna turn to 100 unless we want to test it out again. And yeah, so this is the use of while loops, is that we can do a lot of things quickly and efficiently, or any loops in general. But the problem with while loops is that, well, the pro and the con with while loops are the exact same, right? The reason why you choose a while loop over a for loop is probably because a while loop can go on forever. So in most cases, for loops are, I would say in my daily programming, for loops would be used more, just because in my projects, really you can do everything that you need with a for loop, with a while loop, except with the while loop, you can make it run on forever. So that's the really only edge that while loop has to for loop, and for loops have that same edge in which while loops can crash your program because they run on forever. So you need to be able to stop it immediately, because that can crash your program, because eventually your computer can't take it anymore. Like its CPU will run out. It's not going to be fast enough, and your program will crash. So that's why you need to be careful with while loops. So most people, when using while loops, just say while true, and this will stop it forever. So while true, and it'll run everything inside this forever, really. What happened? A is not defined. We still need to define A. Okay. So when we run this, you can see it'll go on forever, and with a Control C, we can stop it. Or this isn't a command prompt, but at least we can stop it from here. But I mean, if we don't know this, or if we don't stop it, if we're like, all right, I'm gonna watch a quick YouTube video, this will probably crash by then. So just be careful with that, because with a lot of people, and by the way, that was not me, that was my brother. With a lot of people, your program will not work, or it'll crash, and you'll not know why. So the first thing you probably want to look in is, do you have any while loops, and did you forget to stop it? So one nice method that I use is I just use run, So while run, and I set run equal to true. And again, here are the booleans, and this is why booleans are pretty useful in loops. So now like I can maybe create an if statement here if I like want something else. If something has stopped, or I mean, why not just include it in the while loop? But like, I can still do this easily and stop it. So if a we'll put this in here. If a is greater than 1 or 100 or 1,000 or 100, then we want to break it. So at 100, it'll just stop. So yeah, obviously you can just include this in the while loop, but when we have this run, it allows us to stop it in different ways from different places in the while loop. So yeah, so that's while loops for you. Now let's talk about for loops. So the traditional method for a for loop is doing it like this: for I in range, and then this is how many times you want to loop it. So I just copy this code for now. This is just saying, and this is just saying for I, so how many I's are in this range. So this is a traditional method if you want to create a for loop. Obviously, you can do many more things, but for this video, we're just going to stick with this. Just because I am going to create another video that's talking about specifically for loops. Not on this course, but on my YouTube channel. So you guys make sure to check that out after this if you need more help with for loops. But here we can just put how many times we want to loop it. So if we want 100, then we can just print a 100 times. So, and then we probably want to add 1, or else it'd be kind of boring. A equals A plus 1. And what just happened? Oh yeah, and for I in range. Okay, so let me just change this because it kind of looks like it's doing nothing. Let's say 80. And you can see, okay, yeah. So basically, for loops take way less, or this is taking way less. It's taking like in a split second it's doing this. So that's another con, or not con, pro. So you can see it's already printed it out. Rather with while loops, it's just like looping through everything. It's taking some time. So like in 1,000, this will be done like in a split second. And then once again, the program crashed. And usually this won't happen to you, or this shouldn't happen to you, at least with for loops, because it's not going on forever. But, just with this trinket editor, it's doing this with me. I did this recording again before, and I tried to fix it, but it didn't work. But yeah, so there's really no point in trying to redoing that. But you guys can test it out if you guys have it on your own editor. I'm just going to test it out on my own ID because why not? Oh. Sorry guys, 1 second. I'm just going to say test.py. I'm going to run this, and yeah, work with that. We can do this 1,000 times if we wanted to. And you can see it doesn't crash, right? So this should happen to you. Yeah, I mean, it's taking the same amount of time, but you can see it at least doesn't crash, right? So yeah, so that's that. So those are for loops and while loops for you. That is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, so wait, I'm not gonna say but the obvious that I've said in all the other videos in this course, or all my other videos, and I hope you guys can figure that out. didn't say it, but I typed it. So there you go. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace. Alright guys, in this video we're going to be talking about try and accept loops. So a few vids back we basically created a calculator, a simple calculator that can add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers. And we made it a float, so it turns out as an integer and we can actually add them, right? So for the calculator to work. And the problem with this is if the user accidentally enters like a negative or something that's not a number, like as you can see, I accidentally entered a P. And when I enter, I get this error and it just red and everything. And it really makes no sense to me, right? Well, what can the user do? Well, I put that rephrased. I mean, this error makes sense to me, right? But I'm a random user who doesn't know programming. And this makes no sense. What happens? There's an argument. What argument? Okay, that was just a joke, anyways. But like that's not very user friendly. What happened? Oh my God, there's a value error. What? Is something wrong with my computer? And I mean that's maybe a little over dramatic, but like we need a way to make this more user friendly, right? It can't just we can't just throw an error at the user. So we need to do something if they entered a P wrong. Like for example, if I go to calculator, or I actually might have already created one. Like actually, anyways, that's all right. If you want to go on calculator on Google, and we just type like ABC. And we enter, it tells us that there's an error. They don't throw us that big red bold error, right? They just tell us that there's an error. And all right, well, we know that. So let's try to do something about this, make it more user friendly. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a try and accept loop. So let's indent this all in for a try and accept loop. Okay. So what this is saying is we're first going to try to do this code. Okay, we're going to just try it. And if something goes wrong, we're just going to accept it and just do something about that. So we're going to print maybe sorry, couldn't read, or couldn't add, couldn't find the number. Sorry, there has been an error. And in your inputs, please make sure that it is a valid number. Okay. So now when we run this and we don't enter any number, it gives us this error and it doesn't throw us that random, or not random, but that error, right? So okay, so it is not a number on line 1. Oh yeah, we need to save it. Okay, so when we do this, we can see it gives us, sorry, there's been an error in your input. Please make sure that it's a valid number. Now this is text that we can read. All right, it's a valid number. Oh, that's not a number. All right, let me enter a number. So, and now it works. So you can see, well, I put that, so it's not working. But you know how this works. So that's a use of try and accept, and it works in, almost everyone uses this in their code. Like why not have a try and accept loop, right? Errors are very valuable. Like they're very useful to a programmer when they're adding the code. But once the code's finished, Like if they don't have a valid input, we need to do something about that. And say something to the user, right? Like why not have a try and accept loop? Because it's really not changing the code. It's just doing something if the code is wrong. So even if you know the code has no exceptions or there's really no errors that the code can happen, just like use a try and accept loop because there's really no problem in using it, right? After you're running it, obviously. Like here, it's not going to show us the error. So I mean, when you're trying to test it out, don't use a try and accept loop. Like that's not good because you won't see the actual error of the user. So, or not the actual error of the user, but you won't see the actual error of the program, which is specific. But if you know that there is an error that can be thrown, then just use this, right? Because I know that the only main error that I'll see here is just an error in the input, right? You probably have not entered a valid number. So, I mean, just for an example, I can go onto like my website and let's say I want to like sign up, right? And actually, yeah, right. So, this might be a more useful model. So if you guys have ever used Mountain to Meet, you guys should check it out. And basically, it's kind of like WhatsApp, I guess, and Zoom combined, where it's like a P2P, person-to-person meeting, where you can meet, you can like share screen, do all that cool stuff. And when you join a meeting, if the meeting isn't valid, then it should throw you an error, right? And actually, that's not the best example. I'm gonna use something like Untitled Chat. So, when we try to join, through Untitled Chat, because I haven't signed in yet, and I enter an ID that hasn't been created yet. It corrects that with the try accept loop, and it tells you that there's no room found. Instead of giving you a huge error that's like, sorry, like in this is JavaScript, but there's a try catch loops in JavaScript. So yeah, so that's that just for a real world example. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next one. But before we end, I want to show you just a small like tip. And that is these comments. So rather than making a whole nother video or a whole nother part on comments, I'll just show you guys it in this part. So I put this hashtag and it turns green, and that's when I'm trying to write text. So this is just telling the program that this is not real Python. This is just a note to myself or to any other developer on the program. And that's why I put this, because if I put the actual text just there, then it'll throw us an error because it doesn't understand what this is. That's not valid Python syntax. So when we put this, when we put our hashtag, then it's telling us that it's a comment. It's telling the program that it just should skip over that, and it doesn't matter to it. So then for us, or let's say I want to like tell the developer that this is a calculator, if this is a multiple person project, then they'll know, okay, here's where all the code goes. So those are just the comments. But yep, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'm not going to say it, but I'm also not going to type it. So I hope you guys know what to do by now. So we're just going to fill that blank. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace. So this video, we're going to be talking about functions. So this is going to be a quick introduction, so let's just get into it. So a function is just a bundle or a block of code that we can call, and it'll run the block of code. So let me go deeper into what I'm saying. So basically, it is a block of code that we can classify with a name, and we can call that name, and the block of code will be run. So it's basically like a specific block of code that we run. or set of instructions, right? So the Python keyword for functions is def, and this def stands for define. So we're defining a name for this piece of code, basically. So let's just call this, we'll just call this function. And make sure that you put this parenthesis here, and this is just if we want to pass anything into this function. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's just try to pass maybe A and B into this function. And what this function is going to do is it's just going to return, or it's just going to print A plus B. Yep. So when we run this, we get no errors. And here's how we can call this code. So we can just say function, because it's the name of the function. And inside we need to pass the two values, so A and B. So our first one's A, right? So we can just pass like 1 for A and B for 2. So, or 2 for B. And what this should do is it should print 1 plus 2. And you can see we get 3. So that's basically how a function works. So yeah, and why are functions useful? Well, what if we had not millions? What if we had like 20 lines of code in this function? Now, well, we don't have to repeat this line of code every single time. We just have to call this function. And as you keep going, you'll see more and more different, like reasons to use functions, right? So just hope you guys understood what functions are. I know that was a very quick video, so hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace. So in this video, we're going to be reading and writing to files with Python. So this is the last video in this tutorial, so I'll try to make it the best, and it'll be really cool. So let's get started. To do this, we need to talk about what packages are in Python. Now, packages allow us to basically use other people's code in our program, right? So this makes it so much easier. And we're gonna actually use my package called pronounce_i in this tutorial. So you also hear interchangeably with library. This is the Python packaging index app, and you can actually search up my library. So pronounce_i here, and you can see I have pronounce_i, and this is my 5th version of it. So you can see that on our 3rd release we have file operations. So we can see how to use these here. And let's actually download this. So you just click this tick mark here, and you go into your shell and you just paste it. So pip is just the keyword to install something. So it's I don't know the abbreviation on the top of my head, but this is just saying to Python to install this package. And I will create a video on how to create a package for other people to use. Maybe a few days after this video. So stay tuned for that. So what we want to do is just hit the enter, and this will install my package. So you can see it's collecting my package. It's downloading the version. And it may take some time because it does have an 5th release, which is image to string, and this is actually AI methods, so you do need to install another package for this. But anyways, now that we have it installed, we need to import it. So there's 2 steps to package. First, installing it. So you just search up the package here, and you can just tick this, install it. And the second is to import it into your program. So now we have it. Our project knows about it. Okay, we have it in reach. Now we just need to take it and put it in our program. So how we do this is we say import pronounce_i. Okay. And now what this is going to do is this is just going to import everything in pronounce size. So we're good with that. But the problem with this, or it's not a problem, but the thing with this is we have to use the keyword pronounce size every single time. I mean, which you can do, but there's an easier way to say from pronounce size imports all. So now you don't have to keep typing pronounce size every single time. So that's our importing stage. Now what we need to do is just call a function. So we talked about functions in the last video, and there's a few functions that pronounce size allows for file operations. So if we go to our changelog, we see we can create a file, we can write to a file, and we can read to a file. So let's do this. So first, let's create a file. So we call the create file, and then it says that we need a file name. So I mean, obviously I don't need this because I created this, but I just want to show you guys that everything's here, and that you guys can just look at this and easily just figure out how to use my package. And I only created this about a few weeks ago, so or a week ago, right? So there's still a lot that I'm adding, and if you guys want to add to my package, then great, just email me and you can be a contributor. So let's create a file, and we'll call the file we'll call it just text, and let's run this. So this file has been created, and you can see that we have a text.txt right here. So our file has been created. Now that's pretty cool. Now what we want to do is let's write to the file, right? So we can write some text to the file. So first we want to get the file, and then we can write some text. So let's just write pronounce size in the file. When we run, you can see in the file we have pronounce size. So that's great. Now let's read the file pronounce size, and let's actually print this out. So we can print out this because this is just so we can print out this. So when you run, you can see we get all the value inside it, and that's just pronounce size. So we can edit it from here, and when we run this, we get all that text. So why is this useful? Like, what does this help? So what if we wanted to create just a simple maybe user or simple username database, right? So let's do that, right? So let's create an input, and we'll call this username, and we'll say input, please enter your username. And now we have password equals input, please enter your password. Okay. And now what we can do is we can say write file, and we'll say text, right? And now we'll give it the we'll write our username. Okay, and now we'll do this again, and we'll write our password. So we're done with our simple user database. Okay. So when you run this, we enter our username Pranav, our password Sai, and it's done. So when we go through text.txt, you can see it's written this value. And now what we probably want to do is put a control N here, because this control N, all it's doing is just saying new line. So that's just because we probably want to create a new line for our next value. So let's just delete everything in this, and so we can test it out again. So we say pronounce side, pronounce, and then side. And oh wait, I did this wrong. Sorry. What this did was it created it in a new file. Because this was meant to be the file name. So the file name is text, but what I want to write is Control N. Or we want to write a new line, so we can just say Control N here. Yep, and that'll write a new line. So let's test this out again. Okay, so Pranav, Sai, it's done. Okay, it writes as text. Now when we do this again, and we say Pranav, Sai 1, or Sai 2, and you see it creates it on the next line. So that's how we can differentiate. And we'll even put this here, so maybe we can put this. So, I'm gonna say Sai, and then when it runs, you can see it like puts the colon in, so we know that this is the password, that's the username. So that's pretty cool. So you can test out these libraries, but that's actually it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Alright guys, so that's it for this full Python tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. We covered a lot of different topics, and I know it's a lot of information to digest. If you guys have any questions about the full tutorial, please put them in the comments or just email me, right? And I hope that you guys can check out my library that we talked about in the last video, and maybe even contribute to it. Yeah, so if you guys want to learn more about Python, you guys can just put in the comments, and I will try to create an intermediate Python course so you can like keep improving, right? I also do have some Python tutorials that teach you guys how to do cool things. Python, the next one I would recommend to watch is probably the Tkinter course that I've made is like Tkinter Part 1. That's like 30 minutes, but it talks a lot about GUI, graphical user interface, and you guys can learn a lot from that. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.